Good morning. I would like to convene the special meeting called by Councilman Riggs and Councilman Boyle. This morning, the Mayor and City Council of Statesboro are sitting as a tribunal to carry out a judicial function and not as a legislative body. As such, the conduct of this meeting differs from when this body sits in its legislative capacity. The style of the case before us is Statesboro Department of Public Safety petitioner versus Jonathan Earl Starkey, owner and licensee of Rude Rudy's respondent. In order to preserve order and decorum during this hearing, the attorneys for the respective parties shall proceed in a manner similar to non-jury civil trials. Rulings on the relevancy and admissibility of evidence and whether to hear argument and all other points or order, including who shall address counsel, shall be made by the presiding officer pursuant to the authority granted to the presiding officer in Section 2-2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Statesboro, in light of the purpose and scope of this hearing. As previously stated, we are sitting in a judicial capacity this morning and not in a legislative capacity. As such, no limited public forum for comments by the general public is being provided here today. However, family members affected by this matter and their representatives will be provided an opportunity to speak to counsel. Mr. Leaphart, is the petitioner ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Before we proceed, Mayor, I'd like to make an announcement. We'd like to announce that the complaining party, the Department of Public Safety, as well as the responding party, Mr. Starkey, will agree and consent to the waiver of their respective due process rights to have this matter heard and adjudicated by the Mayor and City Council upon adoption of the settlement agreement I have here to present to you and to council for review. May I approach with those documents, Your Honor?
Please do.
I'll provide the Mayor the original documents at this time.
That's the copy. I've got the original. Okay, at this time, I'm going to read the proposed settlement agreement into the record. Statesboro Department of Public Safety is petitioner versus Jonathan Earl Starkey as owner and licensee of Rude Rudy's respondent. Settlement agreement. It is hereby stipulated and agreed by and between the petitioner, Statesboro Department of Public Safety, and respondent Jonathan Earl Starkey that the above captioned action shall be settled, subject to approval by the Mayor and City Council by the following terms and conditions. Respondent Jonathan Earl Starkey agrees to cease and desist operating the business known as Rude Rudy's, located in the University Plaza, Statesboro, Georgia. Respondent Jonathan Earl Starkey agrees to voluntarily surrender any alcohol license issued by the City of Statesboro to Jonathan Earl Starkey and or any entity in which Jonathan Earl Starkey has a legal or equitable interest in, and abandon any and all rights or privileges granted by said license. Respondent Jonathan Earl Starkey agrees to forever forfeit all rights or privileges in obtaining an alcoholic beverage license from the City of Statesboro, and agrees that neither Jonathan Earl Starkey nor any entity in which Jonathan Earl Starkey has a legal or equitable interest in shall ever apply for or be granted an alcoholic beverage license from the city of Statesboro. The parties acknowledge that it is their intent to consummate this settlement agreement and cooperate to the extent reasonably necessary to effectuate and implement all terms and conditions of the settlement agreement. In witness hereto, the parties have caused the settlement agreement to be executed by their duly authorized agent. Can I confirm with I will confirm that Mr. Talby and his client have signed and agreed to the settlement. I will confirm on the record that Mr. Turner and I have agreed to the terms of the settlement. Do I have any questions from council about the settlement?
Just to reaffirm, Mr. Starkey is he's giving up his rights forever to operate a business or hold an alcohol license here in Statesboro.
I will read it one more time.
Is that right?
He's giving up his rights to ever have an alcohol license.
Forever.
That's correct.
Agrees to forever forfeit all rights or privileges in obtaining an alcoholic beverage license from the city of Statesboro. Do I have any other questions from council about the settlement?
Alvin, is this similar in nature to other forfeiture, license forfeiture agreements?
This settlement agreement is somewhat materially the same as the settlement agreement we reached with Primetime Lounge. The issues that arose from homicides that occurred at that license.
Any other questions from council? Okay, at this time I will read the consent order that accompanies the settlement agreement. The consent orders between Statesboro Department of Public Safety petitioner versus Jonathan Earl Starkey as owner and licensee of Rude Rudy's respondent. Consent, final order, and judgment. Whereas petitioner Statesboro Department of Public Safety and respondent Jonathan Earl Starkey entered into a settlement agreement to settle matters pending for administrative hearing before the Mayor and City Council of Statesboro on September 24, 2014. The Mayor and City Council have reviewed and approved the settlement agreement, and based on that approval, it is hereby ordered and adjudged and decreed as follows. The Mayor and City Council has jurisdiction over the alcoholic beverage license issued to Jonathan Earl Starkey as the owner of Rude Rudy's that is the subject of this hearing. This final order and judgment incorporates and makes a part hereof the settlement agreement reviewed and approved by Mayor and Council on September 24, 2014. Nothing in this final order and judgment shall preclude any action to enforce the terms of this settlement agreement. Accordingly, finding no just reason for delay, it is hereby ordered, adjudged, and decreed that final judgment is hereby entered this the 24th day of September 2014 in Statesboro, Georgia. I will confirm on the record that Mr. Talby and his client have signed and agreed to the consent order. I will confirm on the record that Mr. Turner and I have agreed to the terms of the consent order and the settlement. Is there a motion to approve the settlement agreement and adopt the consent, final order, and judgment as full and final settlement of the matter before us now, namely Statesboro Department of Public Safety petitioner versus Jonathan Earl Starkey, owner and licensee of Rude Rudy's respondent? Do I have a motion from council?
I make a motion to approve that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, would it
Yes.
be appropriate at this time to hear from family, or would that be appropriate at
We're
another
going to do that
time?
after.
Okay, I just thought they may want to say something before we voted.
I've spoken to the family and they're okay with the order
Okay.
of the events today. So I have a second. Do I have any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, I'd like to say a couple things, and Councilman Boyd alluded to allowing the family to speak, and we're definitely going to do that in just a second. But first, I want to thank the witnesses that have given testimony and evidence, in this case, to our police department. By virtue of that evidence, we were able to come today to this settlement agreement. Without their involvement, I don't know that we would be here today. A number of them are here, and even though we will not be having a hearing, I would like to say that we thank you for stepping up. We thank you for being here today. You're a very important and needed part of this process, and what you have done is much appreciated. So at this time, I'm going to ask that the family of Michael Gatto have an opportunity to speak to council.
Good morning, Mayor Moore, members of the City Council. I'd like to start by thanking the Mayor for her efforts to facilitate some much-needed changes in the city, and to the Statesboro Police Department and Department of Public Safety. We commend their efforts throughout this ordeal. On August 28th of this year, my son, Michael Joseph Gatto, was brutally beaten to death inside of Rudy's bar. He was just 18 years old, less than 2 weeks into his college experience. He was filled with excitement when we brought him to school. Our family was looking forward to seeing him this weekend, Parents' Weekend, at Georgia Southern. Instead, I'm here and he's gone. He will never finish college, have an engineering career, or get married or have children. His entire adult life was stolen from him, needlessly and avoidably. I cannot possibly tell you the hell that my family and I have gone through over the past few weeks. My husband, my 3 younger children, his grandparents, aunts, cousins, uncles, and friends have suffered immeasurably. We are in shock and utter disbelief that something like this could happen. The pain has been gut-wrenching and emotionally crippling and infuriating. In my opinion of many others, Rudy's Bar is a predatory establishment, like a pedophile running a candy store next to a preschool. It sits adjacent from Georgia Southern's campus, marketing its steeply discounted accessible drinks and its drink-until-you're-drunk atmosphere to the university students. The problem is most of those students are underage, and Rudy's knows that. It's their bread and butter. In fact, it is for most bars in this city, and it's no coincidence that business is down since police have been randomly checking patrons' IDs. Despite numerous problems and incidents, this bar and many like it have inexplicably escaped proper scrutiny over the years and have been allowed to maintain their liquor licenses. Underage drinking is profitable here in Statesboro, and there's lots of fingers in the pie. It is a serious problem that has existed here for years. The city of Statesboro has largely looked the other way, and my son is dead. Rudy's is not a restaurant, it's a bar. Allowing establishments like this to count drink mixers as food in order to classify themselves as restaurants is ridiculous. They make the majority of their profits from liquor sliding down the throats of underage patrons. Allowing 18-year-olds and up in these bars is irresponsible, creates a host of problems that your understaffed police officers cannot possibly monitor and enforce effectively. There are about 20,000 college students here in Statesboro, and you are ultimately responsible for providing a safe environment for them. The parents of these students, the people that practically bankroll this city, now worry that you have epically failed at this endeavor. They're afraid that what happened to my child could happen to theirs, and it's a valid fear, one that could very well affect future enrollment at Georgia Southern. What happened to my son is disgusting. It was avoidable. You can't imagine how that makes me feel. Long overdue changes need to be made here in Statesboro. It's too late for my son, but perhaps someone else's child can be saved. What you choose to do next will be a reflection of this council's priorities and a telling statement as to the importance you place on the safety of the college population and young people in this city. It's an opportunity to declare yourselves impartial and to at long last address the underage drinking that is so prevalent in Statesboro's local establishments. It's a chance to right the ship, and it's an opportunity to say that my son's life mattered. If you continue to allow minors into bars and bars to serve minors, it will be business as usual in Statesboro, and another senseless tragedy will undoubtedly occur. Then you'll have to look some other mother in the eye, and you'll have to explain to her and the voters of Statesboro why you didn't do something when you had the chance. I guarantee you that whatever explanation you offer her, it won't be good enough. My son mattered. He was a person. He was full of life and had dreams and aspirations and a sense of humor and a family who loved him. Please correct this enormous blemish on your city and make the necessary changes to keep your young population safe. Thank you.
Mrs. Gatto, I would like to thank you for having the courage to stand up and say what you said. I can't imagine what it took for you to do that, quite frankly. Before we adjourn, I ask for an adjournment. I'm going to see if I can have one of our officers escort the family out. Please come forward and introduce yourself. I didn't realize, I thought that you all were not going to speak.
Mayor, we would like to make sure that her name is protected. It's a sensitive matter that she's going to be speaking about, so we're concerned about her anonymity for the press and
I would like to thank the City Council and the Mayor for their decision. My daughter was exposed to a horrible predatory environment. It changed her life and our lives forever. She was 18 years old. She was served alcohol, and as a result of the alcohol that was served to her by Rude Rudy's employees, my daughter was sexually assaulted by a Rude Rudy's employee. And I will tell you, the decision that you have made today will greatly impact the lives of many other young women in this community. I thank you for addressing this matter and closing this business. May God bless you all.
thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other business to be taken care of, Alvin, before I ask for an adjournment?
No, ma'am.
Do I have a motion to adjourn from council?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.